Howdy fixers, today we're going after the brakes on this 2006 Porsche Cayenne. And we're just kind of looking everything over right now. We got these backing plate bolts, which are 21 millimeters, and then we also have a 13 millimeter bolt that goes into this pin that holds your brake pads in. So I'm going to go and take that loose right here. And once we take that loose, we're going to drive the pin out with a punch and like a hammer. So being careful not to mar the threads that are inside this thing. So we got a punch here, and it's gonna held in with the hole. You're just gonna drive it out. All right. So the pin's loose. So this is gonna just get rattled like that. So what you have to actually do is get a screwdriver and pry back in between the pad and the rotor, in order to get some wiggle room. Once you get wiggle room, you can pull your pad out like this, and then do the other side, and then all you have to do is disconnect the brake warning indicator sensor from the connector, and then all that'll come out with one piece. In order to get this connector out, you gotta kind of twist it inside the housing, and then you just get a pick that goes underneath your connector, and it pulls back and comes out the gun. So here you have your 21 millimeter. If you get the bolts loose, the backing caliper backing bolts. So this is a Torx 50, just like I did on my rear brakes here. So a Torx 50, you undo this, and then undo these studs, and then we should be able to get this rotor off and put the new one on, and just torque the new Torx 50 thing back into place. And once we get our tires on and all that stuff, we'll have, not tires, but our calipers on, have someone step on the brake pedal, and I'll tighten it. So down here we have our caliper backing bolts. So I'm going to put some Loctite on there, then we're going to torque them. I do believe it was 200 foot-pounds is what you're supposed to torque them to. So our next steps, we're going to lift our caliper up into place, and then we're going to get our bolts that have Loctite on them, and we're going to line it up. You have to wiggle a little bit to get it lined up right, but once it's in there, just tighten them down to what they're supposed to be for torque. So we're going to go ahead and torque it 200 foot-pounds, what the back caliper bolts are. So we're going to get my torque wrench on there, and then we're going to torque it to spec. So I'm going to bust my new pads out of the package here, and then we're going to push back on our calipers here. So these are push back on our little pistons here. There's 3 of them on each side, so you have to go back and forth just a little bit till it gets down in there a little ways. That'll accommodate your pad. So you put your old pad in there, and then you pry against it. It pushes those flush, then you should be able to get your new pad in there. Once you get your new pad in there, then you go to the other side and do the exact same thing you just did. So after I got the other side, you can see I'm doing the exact same process again on this side. Trying to get them down as far as possible, not pressing too hard. And then I'm going to get my old pad in there, and then I should be able to pry against it and get enough room for my new one. So with the pads in, I got my rattle clip in, and then I got my pin that I'm trying to push through. I got to push down and tap over. You got to use 2 hands. So once I get that in there, you got to pry this over a little bit so that it's square slotted, so it goes into the slot. So you got to pry it over so it goes in flush. So when you tighten down the 13 on the other side, it goes down all the way. As you can see here, it's lined up correctly. And now I'm going and I'm tightening it down. So I got my connector here, or my harness and all that stuff for my brake wear indicator, and all I gotta do is clip it in here. Once you get that clipped in, then just put it into the original housing, and you just put in there and twist, and they're a pain in the butt, but you twist them and they should go in.
Thanks are good.